Welcome to Trek Zone Dog Interviews. We're in Perth for Oz Comic Con. Nana Visitor is to my right. Nana, thanks so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
Welcome to Australia. It's not your first time here.
No, I was here, it has to be 18 years ago, because I was heavily pregnant with my son Django, who's now 17 years old.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, for 7 years, you came into our homes as Major, then Colonel Kira on DS9. What was that like, that experience?
The most amazing part of that experience is what's going on right here, that 20 years later, I'm still talking about it and enjoying it with people, and going to different countries where I have something in common with a whole group of you, you know, and meeting new people. That's the most extraordinary part.
Now, DS9 was the most diverse Star Trek. It explored a lot more darker sort of elements than the Star Trek before it. Do you have any feelings towards Deep Space Nine's storytelling?
I love and respect our writers, and I didn't know that it was dark, but a truthful shade of gray that sometimes you couldn't call it who was right and who was wrong. Things didn't always have a clean button, you know, to tidily end things. And that's so much more truthful to life.
And it, I mean, it really reflected the times as well. Like Next Generation in the 80s was very hopeful and optimistic about the future, but Deep Space Nine in the 90s sort of brought it back to reality, and that's the world we live in, is this shade of grey.
Right.
And I think having Kira as a non-human, being a Bajoran, she was able to actually explore more human elements, I guess. You know,
absolutely.
So she could be the sort of moral compass for Cisco.
Well, that's the great thing about science fiction. It gives us just a little bit of remove so that we can take a good long look at ourselves.
So you said you love coming, 20 years later, here you are still talking about it.
Yeah.
It's been off the air for, it's been 15 years now.
Yeah, but still on the air.
What does the Star Trek journey mean for you as a whole? Coming out of it all and being part of this massive franchise, did you feel anything like that? You know, is this big adventure?
As an actor, you can only hope for a character that takes your hand and leads you into scary places, emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually. And Kira was that for me. I wanted her desperately the minute I read the script, and that I got to play her was just one of the best things of my life. And it's not even a career thing. I mean, 7 years is an amazingly long part of your life, and it was a really important part of mine. I had my children, they grew up. Django, when he was 4, someone asked him, "Where are you from? What city are you from?" And he said, "Star Trek Los Angeles." And that's kind of, you know, that experience, that's how it was. It wasn't just my job, it was my life.
And it becomes a family, doesn't it? 7 years, as you say, is a long time. And you're working with all these people for 12 hours a day for most of the year.
16 and up. 16 and up hours a day.
Our union's better.
Yeah, yes. Oh, yes.
But yeah, it's something that I've found with the few interviews that I've done, is that sci-fi shows are more sort of become more of a family than, say, perhaps other shows, maybe because they last so much longer, and there is a bigger, more loyal fan base. Well,
and there's another thing too that you don't really consider. You're in makeup a long time, and you're very vulnerable and truthful at 4 in the morning, and when you're sitting with a bunch of people, you know, for hours at a time, it's very different than a lot of other television shows or even movies. although it's easy to get tight on a movie set too when you're in another city or something. You know, you band together.
Now, aside from Star Trek, you also played a role on, and let's see if my memory serves, because my notes are back in the boardroom. It was on James Cameron's show, Dark Angel?
Dark Angel.
Yes. Yes!
Yeah. Loved that.
How was that compared to DS9? Obviously, it didn't have as long a run, but what was that like?
It was rough and ready in the sense that, you know, it was being on the docks and grabbing bits and pieces here and there, and it was not on the set at Paramount, but it was really exciting to do yet another character that was thought out for a long run. Unfortunately, the network got involved and changed the main thrust of the show, so you didn't really get to know everything, why I was the way I was. And that's a shame. But James Cameron was lovely and smart, and I thought it was so well written.
Coming to these conventions, have you had any crazy adventures? I always like to ask my guests if they've had any crazy adventures with fans that have met you at signing tables and stuff like that. Any standouts?
You know, I have to say that the weird things, it's like 1% of the experience. For the most part, even the people who are dressed up, you know, people on the outside have their thoughts about all of that, although with cosplay, I think people are getting more used to the idea that it's just fun to enter another, you know, reality with the way you dress. But they are smart people and thoughtful, and I've always enjoyed them. There's a group of people that I met around the world, that I'm genuinely friends with and keep up with, and you know, we talk to each other regularly. I have someone here, Wendy, that I can't wait to see her. Can't wait to see her. I haven't seen her in a while.
Oh, fantastic.
So, you know, I get to see old friends.
That's fantastic. Well, Nana, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
And, thanks for coming out for Oz Comic Con, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Look forward to see. Are you coming?
I will be there, yes.
Excellent.